Okay, hey everyone, good to see you. Thanks for joining us for this expert interview. It's great to be joined by Jo Rogers. Hey Jo.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Jo Rogers, you might have seen Jo Rogers before. You might have seen her on a live. You might have seen her on a monthly Jolt.
Huh?
Yeah,
Maybe.
where you did your health check. So Jo's from Navistar Legal. She's the founder of Navistar Legal. She's a lawyer. She's an all-round, actually, cool person who has a lot of fingers in a lot of pies, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, you go, who is this Jo Rogers person? Give us a bit of an overview of who Jo Rogers is.
Jo Rogers. Well, who am I? So my name is Jo Rogers. I am the founder of Navistar Legal. So I set up a company a number of years ago now to support SMEs and give them the same affordable legal wisdom that the big businesses get access to. My background was working in the city. So I worked in the city for a number of years, working as a corporate lawyer, and then moved over to working for American Express. And then as the founder of Navistar Legal, we've worked with hundreds of small businesses, helping them with, affordable legal wisdom.
So that's why Jo's here, not just because she's brilliant, but because the whole purpose of the expert interviews and the whole purpose of this kind of Jolt community is about finding people that are doing what they do differently. It's about taking the industry, the sector that they're in, and shaking it up and challenging people to look at how they play their own part themselves in a different way. And I think you absolutely do that with Navistar Legal, don't you?
We're hoping to. So we're hoping to. And do you know what? For me, this comes, and I guess we'll share as we speak a bit more, but it comes from personal experience, because when I set out in my career, my only intention was to make a lot of money. I just like to say, NB, becoming a lawyer does not allow you to make a lot of money. But that was my thought process. I wanted money. I needed to make money. I don't know why, I don't know where that intention came from. But as time went on and situations occurred and you grow, you learn, don't you? Time changes things. I suddenly realized that there was actually more to being on this planet than just getting money as a paycheck, because I was deeply unhappy with the way that I was working. And for me, the two coincide. So doing something different happened as a result of me realizing I had to do something different, really. So.
And how many people still chase that whole making a load of money thing?
Yeah. I'm not saying money's not important though. I'm just
course.
I'm just saying that when it's your only purpose or the only reason that gets you out of bed, when you're making enough of it, you're going to lose intention. And actually then when you're not making enough of it, you're also going to feel down. And starting up my own business and being a city lawyer, I've literally been in both camps, and both I was miserable. And I came to understand that there was something bigger that was going on here.
And it's our most basic survival need, isn't it? From that kind of that year when we're born, years 0 to 2, that need for our very basic needs to be met around, water, food, oxygen, love. We need all that stuff, and you kind of equate that with when we grow up and businesses, and actually that very basic need for financial survival and security is at our core. Mm-hmm. So we go out hunting for that, and it's like some people then never progress past that need, so they stay in that place of I have to grab onto this cash and money.
And what does that give you? Often for me, it gave me comfort to a degree, but then after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of thinking about it, I needed more. I could feel this pull. It literally was a pull in another direction, and I felt very strange about that pull. I wasn't sure what that pull was about. And anyway, life ensued and gave me the lessons that I needed to learn. And so back to your original comment, yes, I want to do something in the profession that I'm in. In fact, both sides of the coin, really. For me, it's about the lawyers, but it's also about the SMEs and doing law differently and changing things up and transforming lawyers' experiences of business and businesses' experience of law, like the two coincide together.
So look, it would be great to hear, what do you think so far with all your time on this planet has been your biggest jolt to date? The one where you have put something out there into the world that's had a big impact, that's rocked people. What is it, and how did you make it happen?
So do you mean results wise? What's my biggest oh my God, this is amazing.
Not the way the world has jolted you. For you to go, what's the biggest jolt I've put out there on the planet by disrupting thinking? It might be a moment in time.
So I think for me, this will be a broad one. I think for me, starting to speak allowed me to be a jolt. So I feel like being able to get out there and state a message, which was for me around legal and changing the way law was done, for me feels like the biggest impact so far that I've been able to have. Being able to speak with law firms and at law conferences and be able to share my experience has been the greatest job. I think that the one that I'm able to provide.
So what was the tipping point for that happening, for you having, because that takes some courage, doesn't it, when we start to speak our truth and speak up and speak out?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I met a mentor, as these journeys always start with, the wise old man, the wise man. I will tell you the slightly longer version of this story. So I was at dinner with a friend, and they said, "Oh, I've met with this guy, and I'm going to be mentored by him, but he's only got 12 people, and he set up First Direct." And I was like, "Cha-ching! I'm definitely going to work with this guy because I want to be a billionaire, and that's what I want, to build $1 billion business. That's what I want." And I don't know whether it's dollar signs, pound signs flashing in front of me. I was like, "Yes, that's what I'm going to do." And I went to meet this guy, and I was expecting him to be very formal and a little bit Alan Sugar-like. That's what I was expecting. And I sat down in front of him, and this was getting a jolt from him, really. I sat down in front of him, and he asked me 2 questions, neither of which I had the answer to straight away, and I bumbled through an answer. But the question was, "What do you love to do?" And I was like, What do you mean, what do I love to do? And I went and I was like, I love working with small business, and I love, really what I meant was, I would love the idea of being really important and really powerful and prestigious at one point, and really what I want is more money. That's really what I meant to say. Because the question, what do you love, was such a bizarre thing to hear from this man, where I was like, well, I just want success. What do you mean, what do I love? And it wasn't until years later that I really got the understanding of that question, the power of that question, because I didn't really love anything, and I was totally burned out. I was even though I was working my own business, I'd given up the law because I was tired. I was exhausted. I then started working for myself. Oh, fresh air, great. And then I ended up working myself into the ground there as well. So I was just exhausted. And him asking me that question, what do you love, sat like a seed in the back of my mind for a long time, even though I didn't answer the question at the time. And the second question he asked me was, what would you do if you weren't doing what you were doing now? And actually that was the really easy question to answer, which was, I love to speak. But I didn't know. Even though I said it, it surprised me when I said it. You know, it's like not having the answer. You're like, oh, where did that come from? Oh, I do enjoy speaking. So that was again a trigger for me. And anyway, he wrote to me saying, sorry, we're full. I probably didn't answer the questions in a very inspirational way. But years later, I did manage to get onto his program. And years later, he said, I had no idea what you were talking to me about that day. But I could see that there was this spark that if I ignited it would be remarkably powerful. And that's what he did. It makes me emotional actually thinking about that, because he obviously saw something in me when I was in a very dark space. He obviously saw that little light.
Glimmer.
Tiny!
It's okay, doesn't it? It doesn't matter as long as it's there.
Tiny. And he was able to, over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, tease some of those threads out. I mean, just another part on that. I actually went to him day one. I went to him with my business plan. I was like, here you go, like the good girl that I am. Like, here you go, here's my business plan. I've got everything. Hi, Mike. And he said to me, yeah, you're going to want to throw that away. And I nearly had a breakdown. Literally 3 months later was when our next group was. And I walked in disheveled hair. I'd probably been on the sofa for 3 months, just rocking back and forth, because what he did, and this is how he built First Direct, what he did was changed the idea of this isn't about a business that you're building. What is your purpose beyond money? What is it that you want to create in this world which is bigger than you getting paid? And that shift was, that was the seed for me.
Wow, transformation. And we talk a lot, and whoever's watching this, I'm pretty sure will know that we talk a lot about that kind of living and leading our lives on purpose. And the on purpose piece is about the following our North Star, following the thing that is bigger than us, our why, that spark inside us that gets us out of bed each morning, and that we do it deliberately. Right, so we live on purpose. We make choices as we move through our day that are deliberate and still continuing to follow the star. Yeah. And just asking people that question is powerful. And for some people, it won't land and they won't get it, the whole purpose piece. But just when it lands and it kind of just starts to unlock something, it's when all the magic happens.
It doesn't feel like magic at the time, Richard, does it?
No, it's painful.
Like, oh my God, shift in perspective. That somebody who I'm looking up to in that business arena is asking me to think above and beyond the thing I think should be most important to him. Complete change of paradigm. Yeah.
Wow. Are you still in touch with him?
Oh yeah, he still helps me.
So we talk in Jolt. I talk about this whole kind of this shift from good to extraordinary. So if we want, which is the hardest shift that we make in life, when we move from it works, it functions, it delivers, it does what it says on the tin, and then how do we shape it and transform it enough to deliver something that is truly game changing? And about the requirement in there that we need to upgrade beliefs, adapt our values, and that ultimately that then shifts the narrative that we tell and the story that we tell in our thinking. So what is it about your thinking every day that keeps you on your quest?
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm gonna slightly change the question.
I knew you would.
Yeah.
It's like, bloody hate it.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to redraft the question in my typical lawyer language, because I think that there's something that comes before that. So for me, the thing that allows me to stick on purpose is writing. Now, that might sound odd, but writing around it every day is really important. So I have a specific thing that I do every day where I write, I meditate, I pray. And for me, that has to be around what is it that today is going to be like? So they say in 12 steps, it's one day at a time, right? It's one day at a time. I literally just take that one day and think, how today am I going to live to my purpose? And this has been years in the making, trust me. This was not like an instantaneous, today I'm going to do some writing. It's taken me years of being held accountable, of having other people that are also doing the same thing around me. So having that peer group of people around me that do the same thing, and by having a clear understanding of what I want to get every day. But every day I start the day exactly the same way. I will take a piece of spiritual text. I will read that spiritual text, one page. That's it, just one page. I will then write, whether it be type or I'll write by hand on that spiritual text for 15 minutes. I will then look at the things that will throw me off purpose. So for me, and we've started this process with our team as well, but obstacles for the day. Really just getting clear on the obstacles. So today I had this kind of knot in my stomach. We're starting with 2 new clients. They want a deal done by the 31st of January. I have this knot in my stomach, like, it just feels like it's not quite enough time, or that there's going to be a lot of pressure over Christmas. So that was my obstacle for today. And I'll write around that. Like, what am I going to do? What's my action plan around that one obstacle? Because it might feel like it's not the important thing. Or it may be that I've lost my keys, or I've dropped something that needs dealing with in my personal life that actually affects my professional life, because my mind and my energy is going to be somewhere else. So I really focus on that. And it usually only takes me to write, as I say, 15 minutes, but actually I'm talking about all of the writing. So the writing around the spiritual text, the writing around the stuff that needs to be done, or the obstacle that needs to be dealt with for the day. And then if anything else is bothering me, I get that down. I know you think, well, you don't really want to focus on too many negative things. But for me, when I write down what's bothering me, then I'm able to, at the end, be able to have a solution and an action plan for the day. I then prioritize my day. I set alarms for telephone calls that I'm going to have, or things that I need to do. And that sets me up for the day. Now that might sound extreme, because many people, I'm sure, are thinking, that's not really how I want to start the day. But I've experienced, I can only have my most productive day when I start totally on purpose.
So doing those things, so the writing, the meditation, the praying, what does that give you?
I think it gives me conscious decision. It allows me to make conscious decisions.
Okay.
So I will know where the issues of the day arise. For example, travel. I had no idea, but as time has gone on, I had no idea how exhausted I get when I travel. So I'm a bit of a like, let's see what we can pack into a short period of time. So I might travel to Birmingham to speak, and I'll think, oh, well, I'll come back that day as well. I'll travel up there and I'll come back, and then, oh, and maybe I'll have a couple of calls on the while I'm on the train. Oh, and I'll get this bit of work done whilst I'm traveling up there. Well, that's not realistic. I mean, it might be realistic, but there are going to be days when I'm going to be exhausted because I'm traveling up and I'm traveling back, and I don't do the traveling back very well. So I have to say, actually, I do nothing when I'm traveling back other than either listen to music or something else. So it gives me an ability, awareness, greater awareness, but it gives me a conscious decision process where I can say, actually, instead of me worrying about that client call, which I would love to have this evening, but it's not going to be productive, I now know I move it on to the next day.
Yeah.
And life changes when you start making those conscious decisions.
I love that. And the conscious decision about what you do, but also the conscious decision about the spaces that you take. And I think we got really bad at leaving space, allowing space. We know when we drive a car, we know there needs to be space between us and the person in front. We know we walk along the pavement. If we walk kind of with no space between us and the person next to us, it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a bit strange. But we are in this place. I know we talked before the interview about almost the online stuff means that we are always on.
Yeah.
That we've got really shit at, if there's a space, we go, I have to fill it with something. I got 2 hours there. I mean, it's like I need to put a call in, or I need to complete something. And I don't think we really understand how bad that is for us in how we spend our energy, and kind of energetic blocks that we create when we just fill every gap.
Yes. And the feeling that I have to do it, so if I've booked a client call, for example, is a great example because it's something that I have to do. Feeling that I have to do it is the worst thing for me, whereas actually knowing that I've got space and actually I can deal with it tomorrow, which means probably I'm going to do a better job because I'm going to have thought it through, clears my head. So it gives me space, it gives me clarity, and it gives me this sense, or it removes the sense of, do you know what that is? Do you know that feeling of like, right, got to keep going, adrenalized, constantly adrenalized, and high cortisol, just like on all the time. I described it, I don't drink caffeine anymore, but when I did, I described it as my eyes show me the way. This is how I feel. It's like, you know, when you're caffeinated and your eyes are like this, I feel like my eyeballs are pointing the way, and they're like dragging me forward because I'm like, right, okay, let's go. I've got more to do. And it's that sense of keep going. And I learned that very young. My mum's a busy person. She likes to keep busy. Got to keep busy. Got to keep doing things. And I've learned only in probably the last, not even 3 or 4 years, probably max, I've managed to understand that I can, for example, coming to you today, I'm not packing 6 calls on my journey on the way up here. I can be present when I'm here because I'm not doing so much. And it gives everybody a better experience. It also means that I know what I can't do. I know what I can't achieve.
Yeah, I love that. And we talk a lot about the requirement for us we have to set ourselves up well for the day, whatever that is, whether that's exercise or journaling or meditation. That start to the day, about how we create our story for the day rather than just living yesterday's story or last week's story, is so vital if we have any desire to play in that good to extraordinary space.
And let's say, I'm going to say 2009 was my awakening into, let's put personal development or personal growth. And I was told then, experts tell you, the Brian Tracy's, and I'm thinking Tony Robbins of this world, those sort of people who are up there on that global stage, and they will say, you've got to start the day. You've got to start the day with meditation. You've got to start the day with writing. You've got to start the day with this. And there was a mindset that I had. It's almost as if you have to clear it all away before you can add any of those blocks. You know the analogy where you have like a tank, and you fill it with sand, and then you want to put the big blocks in and you can't do it. It feels like that, where you've got to clear out the tank of all the sand. Then you put the big blocks in, then you put the gravel in, and then the sand goes in between it. It feels very much like that's the case for me. I'm a doer. I classify myself as a high achiever and a mild, well, not mild, and a workaholic. So if you give me, okay, right, so not only are you going to do that, but you're going to exercise in the morning, you're going to meditate, you're going to do all of these things, I'm going to add that. I'm going to stick the big blocks, I'm going to get it into the sand. But I had to clear all the sand out and then put the blocks in afterwards, because so now I can do that, because then those are those are the most important things that go in. Everything else are the gravel and the sand.
Okay. So that importance of letting go. William Bridges talks in his brilliant book Transitions about, we often think the first step of change is that we go into doing the new thing. So we go, here's my new habit, and we start doing. He said, but the first step of change, the first step actually is about an ending, is about what do we need to let go of and release. And that might be habits, tasks, people, beliefs, stories, values, processes that we need to let go of, because we go, they were yesterday and maybe brilliant yesterday or brilliant 10 years ago, but they're not going to be today's story. And was that a burp?
Yeah.
What was that? Was it a burp? Brilliant. They weren't expecting that. So that is a bonus material we're going to sell that as. So that importance of actually the release piece is, and that's what I guess that's a big part of what you do by your morning routine, is about letting go of the stuff that is in your way, allowing acceptance and allowing it to move through before you start creating the day ahead.
I love that I can give you an analogy that makes so much sense to me, and you can translate it into something someone actually genuinely says.
It won't happen with everything. And actually
it's amazing.
And who gives a shit anyway? Some people are going, who gives a shit about William Bridges? But I talk about that a lot with clients, and because they get so excited or consumed with the kind of new thing and the new program. Let's build that new thing. And you go, actually, there's some release to do first, some stuff that you carry around in your rucksack every day that is no longer helpful.
And it takes time to release it. It's not, okay, I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to start doing this. And, we were talking earlier about addiction. For me, there may be genuine reasons why you can't stop doing something. And whether it's physiological, psychological, there's a traumatic experience, none of that really matters what it is. But you may be that kind of compelled to do something that you find it very difficult to stop. And there is a turning point. It's the Titanic turning point. That it's a big ship, and it needs time to turn, and you need time to let go of some of these. I don't even need to say you. I needed time to let go of a lot of these things. Busyness was one of them. I remember this situation. I'll share more about it in a minute, but I was going through some health issues, and I'd gone for some treatment, and I was in a lot of pain. And it was a Saturday, so it must have been the Saturday I went for the treatment, and the Sunday night I was lying on my bed. I was doing some form of meditation, and I could feel here this nervous knot. Now, bearing in mind, I took 6 months off of work. I was nervous, and when I worked out what I was nervous about, I was nervous about going to work the next day. I hadn't been going to work for the last 3 months, and I wasn't going to go to work for another 3 months. But I had this real gut-wrenching feeling in my stomach. That habit of the Sunday night nerves took probably another 6 months after that to subside, and that was after awareness of it, because I would Sunday night would come round, I wouldn't even know it was a Sunday night because I'd lost track of days, and suddenly I'd feel this real nervousness in my stomach.
So unconscious.
Unconscious, the fear that comes up, and you can't just get rid of that. There is a process that has to happen. And it requires awareness. It often requires somebody else to sit with you and kind of remind you that that's what's going on. And it takes willingness to let it go. And
that, for me, is the key bit. It was lovely listening to your language, how you shifted your language from, there are some things that maybe because of psychologically or physically that you can't let go of. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then you shifted it a minute later into, it might be very, very difficult. And you go, and there's a real difference in those things, isn't there? Fritz Perls, one of our greatest Gestalt therapists ever, used to say to his clients, don't say I can't, say I won't. Because can't implies there is no choice, won't implies we are making a choice to not do it. And I think there's a massive distinction in that it might be very, 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 very difficult, but make the decision as to whether you own it as I can't let go of that, or actually you don't want to.
True.
And that desire piece, right? There has to be the desire to let it go.
That's true.
Actually, yeah, it's going to be really, really difficult, and I really want to let it go. And with the new things, it's like you can do them. It is possible, but you've got to really, really want it.
I think so. I do agree with you on the can't and won't. I do think, and my experience has been, certainly with addiction, it will, whether or not you want to or you don't, there is an element of can't in it. And that's not to say you're not in control of it. I know this will be controversial.
Interesting, folks. It's going to get interesting.
Yeah. Look, you're adjusting. You're like,
come on.
It's not that you can't with the current thinking, or you can't on your own, or you can't just by willpower alone. And many people so when I talk about, for example, addiction, for me it was sugar, giving up sugar. I wanted to be free from the debilitating kind of constantly consuming and needing to exercise. So I would use my willpower to diet or exercise, and to me that was coming to a balance. But the physical reality is when that takes so much willpower that eventually you will drop. And so it wasn't possible in the way that I was doing it to give it up. It was going to constantly bring me back. But once you've got the right answer and you know, okay, am I willing to take, if it means that I totally have to give up sugar, am I willing to take that action? Then it's a question of willingness. Okay. But until you're given the answer to what it actually is, because I think many of us, particularly those people that really want to get it right, or really want to do, be the best person that we can be, or be extraordinary, exactly those words, we keep doing things, bashing our heads against the wall, going, why can't I do that? Why can she do that? And she can eat, my boyfriend, oh my God, so annoying. He can take one piece of chocolate and he'll just eat one piece of chocolate and put the rest in the fridge and it will not be touched. How can he do that and I can't do that? Is that because he's got more willpower than I have? No, it's because he's not a sugar addict, so he doesn't need to use his willpower because he's not interested. His body doesn't react the same way to me, to sugar as mine does. And that's, for me, a fact. So am I willing to say, okay, I can't touch sugar at all? That's a better question. But the bit for us is, I can't in the situation that I'm in right now. I want to, but it's not working.
With that current thinking and that current lens.
And the current actions. So me just saying, well, I'm just not going to have sugar until Friday. When I go to Friday, then I'm going to take this. Same with alcohol. There's a physiological reaction that alcoholics, sugar addicts have it's a physical and a mental obsession. And it kicks in as a result of the physical.
I think can't is just used way too easily.
I agree.
And I think as soon as we get the want is strong enough, and we then go, and there's consequences for the choice we make. There's consequences for doing it this way, and there's consequences for doing it differently. The can't piece, it can start to drift away.
And what do you need? My question. So what do you need to get from there to there? You need somebody else that's done it before you, and you need people to do it with. You can't often, I say, you can't do it on your own. And I truly believe that. Some of these things we want to do on our own, but the very nature of it means it's not possible to do it on our own. So just being the person where we just go, okay, I'm going to this time, it's good, this time it's going to work, this time I'm going to do it. Actually, you will get so far. You'll probably get 6 months sober, or you'll get 6 months down the road. But if you'll keep going back and keep going back, it's not about willpower. Yeah,
it's such an important part of building self-efficacy, those two elements of being able to model someone that's done it, and then having that tribe around you that is your cheerleader and your kind of arse kicker at the same time.
Exactly, holding you to account, not just, and communicating with you about the journey.
Yeah.
Because yes, okay, you can have a therapist, you can have counsellors, but people that are actually doing exactly the same thing as you and on the same journey as you, they're the people you want to be speaking to.
3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Loud. I was going to use passionate, but let's use passionate. So it feels much better.
No, you went with loud first. Let's stick with loud.
Let's go with loud, passionate.
Are you having both? Loud and passionate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like the word, although I think it's badly used with women, powerful. I like the word powerful.
What does that do for you?
It used to. People will often say, to all the women out there who get told this often, like, you're very masculine, you know, you should really be more feminine. And I'm like, can I swear? Fuck you. That's what I want to say to people.
Your swearing's allowed. We don't even bleep it out. Fuck
you. Because for me, even as a young child, I was a very powerful, some might say demanding, but I was a very powerful child. And as time went on and situations happen and other children are around, I felt that power diminished for me and I lost power. I felt powerless when, particularly when with addiction and illness that I've had, there was a feeling of powerlessness. And so for me, powerful stamps are kind of a part of who I am. And two, I no longer think, oh, that's too masculine, or I should really be more something. It's just a word that kind of emphasizes something and is a part of who I truly am, I think. Yeah.
So, and you've kind of already answered a part of the next question. We'll just double check there isn't anything else. And I think it becomes even more important on the back of those words of loud, passionate and powerful. And you've talked about how you set your day up. Is there anything else that's really important to you about your day for you to be able to be loud and passionate and powerful and be extraordinary that matters to you in terms of how you set it up, how you stay on your peak game?
Anything else in my day?
We've got your meditation and we've got your writing in the morning and your prayer. Anything else that important?
Well, other than a check-in at the end of the day, I think that's important. I think a lot of my day, so another habit that I have is speaking to other people. Now, it's not something I used to do because I am very, even though loud, passionate and powerful all sound like extroverted traits, very much an introvert. I like a lot of space to myself. I need that space to myself. So getting time to myself, really important, but speaking to other people and communicating what's going on for me during the day, also really important. So I have a commitment to make 3 phone calls a day to people, and either to be of service to them or for them to be of service. Those are non-work related calls, and just to find out what's going on with them. So that really helps me. I do also do weights now, and I love doing weights. I think I was saying to you earlier, I can overdo exercise. So I used to run and play basketball, and now weights is like a nice grounded medium for me, where I can go, I don't overdo it. I have a personal trainer now, so I don't take myself to an extreme where I'm completely exhausted when I'm walking out. I go, God. And then I don't go for 3 weeks. So I'm forced to go 3 times a week. Really enjoy that. And then food. For me, nutrition, absolutely critical. Health problems that I've had in the past, I know 100% have been down to the food that I've been eating, the nutrition that I've been putting into my body. And I'm really careful to make that one of the big rocks that goes into my day. So I make time to eat. I make sure that I eat, and I don't. And I eat good food mostly. I know what I've got to eat anyway.
So you seem, and your energy is kind of feels pretty fearless and relentless, and you kind of that drive, that masculine energy that's driving to go, here's what I want, and I'm going to kind of forge ahead for it. So what happens when you get pushback? What happens in those things where you're pushing for something and you get a hand, or you get a no, or you get a resistance, or whatever it is? How do you get through that?
Well, first of all, one thing for sure, even though I am like that, and I definitely am by nature, I'm also a crier. I cry a lot, and I need to cry a lot. I feel like I used to be so ashamed of it, especially when I was a kid. I was like, don't cry. No, it's not. And now I'm a crier. And I embrace that as a part of me. So sometimes I have a good cry when I get pushed back, because it's important for me that I need that.
Is that in the moment that you do that?
No, you sometimes not immediately. Oh, you mean in the
sobbing
moment?
Sobbing and weeping when they go.
As opposed to.
No, I don't mean just in the moment. I was wondering if you could just kind of break down.
No, not often. Sometimes I'm like, I'll be back. No, not in the moment. Usually my grief period takes a couple of hours when I'm alone, and I'm like, okay, I think I need to have a little cry about that. That was quite an emotional day. So no, not in the moment. I actually feel, now I realise in saying all of these things, if I was listening to somebody say, oh, I do this and I do this and I do this, I'd be thinking, yeah, right. But actually, these are the things that allow me to be a lot more resilient. And resilience was not a word that I had before, because it used to be that when I got pushed back, I'd go to eat, or I'd get pushed back, I'd be like, need a cup of coffee, or I'd get pushed back and I'd go, that's okay, I'm going out drinking this evening, so no problem with that. So it's interesting when you ask that question about what I do, because I now know what I don't do. I don't do the things that I used to do. And eating was a big part of that. Like, I'll just go, and unconsciously eating, obviously. Or let me go and work it out at the gym and I'll just work it off. So in the moment, what happens, I do attempt, my team would probably roll their eyes at this, but I attempt to dissect it in some way. So I usually go to my team and be like, this just happened. I'm so annoyed. I will always write about it. Without fail, it's the only thing that allows me to, I can talk it through. Talking it is fine, but I need to talk it through just to unlock some of those points, so that when I write it down, and every time I write it down, I forget how powerful it is. Like, this is really bothering me right now. And sometimes I just write it literally like this. This is really bothering me. I just burped on Richard's, couch, or whatever.
Are you going to cry about that later?
I could do, yeah. I could do. It was a release. I think we're talking about release.
It's good. It's really important to let go. I mean, within reason, in the context that you're in. I think burping here, though, is fine.
I know, exactly.
And you've been the first one as well.
Oh, God. Yes.
That I know of.
Yes. So I guess that's what I do on my, when there's pushback, I talk it through. I usually have a bit of a stomping session, and then, if I need to have a little cry, I'll have a good cry.
Back to that, allowing it to move through, isn't it? As soon as we block the energy, that's when we block our energy, it creates that dis-ease within our system. So whatever it is that people need to do in order to, how do we allow the energy just to keep moving? And you have a few ways there of sharing it with kind of what you say and writing it down. And then if that means having a cry and allowing the emotion to shift, really important.
The writing for me, I mean, I couldn't stress it enough, for me, just being able to write things down, get to the crux of really what is going on for me, and being able to put a label on it. We were talking about labels earlier, just putting a label on the thing. Oh, I'm angry because I did oh, okay, that's interesting. Can I let go of that anger? Yes. Is it helping me? No. Am I willing to no, I don't want to let go of the anger. Right. Am I willing to let go of the anger? No. Could I be willing to maybe get willing to let go of the anger? Okay, yeah, I am. All right, let's go with that. And something then shifts physiologically in my body, and I'm then able to deal with the person properly. And I've found that over the last few years, especially in writing, my head feels a lot clearer. In writing and kind of doing this process for me, my head feels a lot clearer. I'm able to deal with people a lot better because I'm not reacting all the time. I'm not constantly bitching or gossiping about people, because I'm getting things off my chest a lot earlier. I'm dealing with them at the core. Yeah.
Jo, what's been do you believe has been your biggest learning to date on your journey so far? And how do you use that? How do you still hold that each day to keep you moving forward?
Well, the Mike situation was a big learning, in that there is something bigger, but not long after that. It was maybe 2 years or 3 years into working with him, I found out that I had breast cancer. And for me, that was something happens. I was in the shower and I just finished a Bikram class and I found this lump. And something happened between then and the day when I found out that it have had the biopsy and got the results. It was 10 days. that really, really got me clear that death is absolutely certain. It's just a matter of days. And I don't mean literal days. I mean, it literally could be 10,000 days, or it might be 3.5 days. But we have no we have no way of telling. And that, for me, no, don't get me wrong, I forget sometimes. And then when I'm writing, I come back to, oh wait, yeah, do you remember that you had cancer? Do you remember that time when you had cancer and nothing mattered after that? So I have to bring myself back to it. And I think, I say I'm a lucky one, because there are many, many people who've never had that jolt, as you say. There's many people that have never had the life or death jolt of, some people I know have it. So death is the biggest impactful thing for me. Now, whether it's that you think you're going to die, or you have a horrible experience, people lose children in shopping malls and stuff, and they're like, they think something's going to happen to them. It's really that jolt. It is a literal jolt that makes you realize and really appreciate. I know people who have gained that wisdom by a family member dying very young, and you just see the wisdom in them, and that, to me, just knowing that, having that experience of death, not that I was going to die and everything's clear and fine for me, touch wood, but it's that experience that really brings it home. And that's the reason that I do what I'm doing now. So it was the kind of trigger point for me saying, I am going to write every day, because I want every day to be my best day, and every day to be progressing and increasing and engaging and being energetic, instead of what my life was like before, which was just kind of on the hamster wheel of life, just kind of getting by, just thrive and just surviving, never thriving. And by the way, that was in a well-paid job, being looked after, taxis home, in well-paid job with everything you could possibly, good, great family, but still just kind of dragging my feet through life, never really feeling as if I'd made it. So yeah, I think that answers the question you asked me.
I think that answers the question.
Yeah.
And as you say, though, some people will just never have that experience that kind of wakes them up. And there are also some that will have that experience but quickly kind of move on from it. It's amazing how that stuff is forgotten. You see that kind of wake-up call and it's quite significant, but then they're still drawn and seduced back by their old stuff that is so compelling for them. And you go, wow, that kind of that moment, that kind of ultimate pain that was your opportunity to architect something very different for yourself and start telling a different story, but they don't grab it.
And during that time when I was in that transition, and I mean transition from, well, it's difficult to say what I was transitioning from to what, but there was a transition that occurred during that time. There'd been transitions that had been occurring from, the age of 28, 29 for me, but this was a real shift. And one thing that I kind of want to share with your audience, because it was really important for me, and I don't know whether I've got it across enough, is time, being so patient with how long it was taking to make that change. Because even though I had that big reawakening, for 6 months I was like juicing, and I was eating this way, and I was doing all I had all the vitamins, and I took a vitamin every day, and I got into some good habits. And then one day I'd forget a vitamin, and I'd be like, yeah, all right then, okay. And it trickles off at that point. So it has to be every day. It has to be every day that you make the decision to make a different choice. And sometimes it's not everything that you can do. You have to be, infinite patience produces immediate results, is what Wayne Dyer says. Infinite patience produces immediate results. You have to be infinitely patient with yourself to get the result of, okay, today was not perfect, but we're moving on. Because when you want everything and there's the added thing of, because if I don't do this, I might die from this cancer, or I might die from that. That's an added pressure on you to really actually make a change. But change takes time. It really does. And it's so easy to look at people and go, well, I want what they've got, and so I'm just going to add all of those big blocks into what they're doing. I used to read a lot. I don't know about you. personal development where people would say 10, those kind of Facebook things where they're like, the top 10 things that the most successful people in the world do. And I'm like, great, what are those top 10 things? Right, those are going on my list of things that I'm going to do today. Oh my God, that's exhausting.
And they become
the
shoulds, don't they? They're a shoulds and not a want. And
exactly.
Shoulds are really hard to follow through on.
Really hard, because you don't really have the willingness to do it. You don't really want to do it. So exercise is a great one for me. So I say I now do these weights. Really enjoy weights. When I stop enjoying weights, trust me, I won't be doing weights anymore. I'll be doing something else, because I don't think I should be doing weights. I enjoy doing weights, and I enjoy how it makes me feel.
We're kind of back into that phase. We've got New Year's resolutions kind of just looming, right? And people are going to be coming to all these things they're going to do and that they should do. So many driven by should go to the gym, should lose weight, should look better, should go out more, should. And they go, I wonder why has it dropped off? And I go, well, I've been doing it for 10 days.
10 days, why?
You go, well, really? Okay. Let's have that conversation.
Exactly. And it may be that you do need something bigger to jolt you into it. But I also think I can, I'm not even going to say you, I can overthink all the things I should do and not be thinking about the life that I want to build instead. And for example, if I didn't have to give up sugar, then that would be a part of my life, because I enjoyed eating sugar. It just had such a negative effect on me that I could no longer do it. Same with alcohol, same thing. And then each time I just improve and I work on the basis that, okay, this 6 months, let's see how this goes. But each day I'm going to take it a day at a time. And it's so much easier that way, because then I'm not thinking, oh my God, I've wasted this whole 6 months and now one day I have failed to take my multivit. Disaster! Oh no! It's like, I missed it today. I'll make sure I do it tomorrow. Patience with yourself. Exactly. That's the hardest thing. Because especially when you want immediate results, you think you want, like, give it to me now. I want, because I'm the sort of person, especially if I want to lose weight, I'm like, right, I'm on it now. I've got this, I'm going to fast, or I'm going to do whatever. You get the new thing, right? I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be the best at it. And I was freaking good at those things, because I've got great willpower, until I wasn't. And once I dropped it, or I lost something, I lost my momentum on it. That was it then. It was swinging from one to the other, all or nothing. Like, consistency is now. Consistency. Just keep the consistency. Yeah.
So we're going into the last couple of questions. So if you could jolt one industry, one organisation, one person on this planet that you think needs just a big kick up the arse to disrupt and do something very different, what would you choose? Who would you choose?
For me, it's obvious, for legal. And why? Because I think that it's been done in such a way. Well, I see my transformation as something that I know that if people were able to experience, or kind of just understand the feeling, the difference between where I was to where I am now. Like, I was depressed and like dragging my feet, as I was saying, on this hamster wheel, to the point where I'm joyous and I'm feeling energized and I'm purposeful and I'm feeling lit up by life most days, not every day, but most days when I'm not crying in the bedroom. Most days I'm lit up and I feel energized and I know what we've got to do, and I can get on with it. And that, to me, that transformation, there are a lot of people in that corporate world, so the corporate industry generally, who are there, who are just about surviving. And doesn't matter whether they're working for the job, they're just working for a paycheck. They don't need to leave their job and become an entrepreneur. But like, in fact, please don't just go off and set up your own business, because it seems like it's a really easy thing to do. It is not. They don't need to. The shift can happen like that. They don't need to get cancer. They can shift from there to there with relatively small changes to belief, the stuff that you're talking about, belief, looking after their mental hygiene, thinking about, probably thinking less, I would say, thinking less about the things they've been thinking about. There's a lot you can do to transform from there to there. So yeah, then I want other people who have been like me to be able to have that same shift. Because for me, it was painful. It doesn't need to be that painful for people.
And what's it going to take industry-wide for kind of law as a sector to evolve and transform in a bigger way?
I think it's starting, but I get the impression that there are role models that have to be up there. Like with everything, people have to aspire to. Let's say, when I started in the city, even though I never really appreciated that this is what I did, I kind of scanned the partnership, people who were partners at the law firm, and I thought, oh, don't really want to be like any of them. Not really. So that it's changing that. It's finding those people in the industry that people can look to and go, do you know what? When I grow up, I want to be just like them. And I don't think there are enough of those yet, because we're not quite at that shifting point. But for me, that's it. It's seeing the people, therefore knowing a different way. I think the millennials have got this completely switched on the right way.
Absolutely.
They kind of see it already. In fact, I don't think they even see those people already doing it. They're seeing people in other industries and they're going, well, if that industry can be like that, I reckon we could have that. But I think for those of us that are already in those industries, we need to see the change. We need to see the change before we can be the change often. So yeah, I'd say it's the role models.
And ultimately you're out there every day doing your piece, which is kind of free of ego, not attached to being the one who changes the world.
Free of ego, definitely.
Free-ish, almost free.
A
little bit. And doing the bit you can do, which is go and kind of shine your light each day and be the torchbearer and the beacon for others to follow and model and
I hope so.
Steal some of your stuff.
Yeah. One of the things I'm loving doing, because not many people are doing it, is videos. Obviously you're doing the same. But in my industry, not many people are doing that. And just being able to say, hey guys, there's something different here. It's so powerful. I'm just speaking and being able to, it's the reason why I love to work with you guys, just being able to spread the message that there's a different way. There is a different way, and it doesn't have to be the way things have always been. In fact, I know I've still got a long way to go, and life can be even more extraordinary. So, I want a house like this. I want artwork like this on my walls.
You can have these.
It's
Elton. That's Gary.
Oh.
I thought it looked a bit like Elton John.
I think I have seen them
Gary
before
Glitter.
on your videos. They're amazing.
They're good. I like them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're into the last question. So people watching this are going to be, maybe they're in a corporate space, maybe they're in an entrepreneurial space, maybe they're just kind of crossing that bridge from one to the other. So from all your wisdom and all that you've shared and all the stuff that you haven't shared, what would be your three big pieces to them to go, these are the three things to focus on, think about, do as a result of watching this?
All right. I think I've already shared these three, so I'll just go with them. I think be honest with yourself, be accepting of where you are, and if you feel that you can't do something, there may be something else going on. So, for example, accept that there may be some sort of addiction there. I do believe that being honest with yourself and just being able to say, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm doing my best and it still won't change. Kind of awareness and honesty, first of all. Be around people. I hate saying that because I'm such a natural lone wolf, but people are really important. We are naturally kind of people. So I being around people, and it doesn't have to be everybody, but having somebody hold you
connection. It's like we're kind of moving. Part of our paradigm shift is from separation to connection. And we do need that. Even the introverts in the world need that, a good connection.
I know, it's crazy. It's beyond my thinking, but definitely. Connection, really important. So be around people and be around the right type of people. There's no right type of people. You can learn something from everybody, but people that lift you up and raise you up.
Not dicks, basically.
Oh, not dicks,
just
please.
Hang out with good people.
Hang out with people that are actually got your best interests at heart, and that won't be everybody. But hang out with them, talk to them, do what you can with them. And then the third one for me would be I'm going to say habits. Form habits. There are so many books on how to form habits. I am no expert in forming habits other than the fact that I have...
Charles Duhigg's good. Have you read Charles Duhigg's stuff?
I have, exactly.
His
stuff
really good.
Is good, that's right. So forming habits has got to be the basis of everything. So whether it be the habit of not overthinking, or when I think about that thing, I'm going to write about it, or whatever that habit is. And just as part of that, total patience. Habits, consistency around that, and just being so patient, infinitely patient. And that's 4 things, but I'm going to work with 4. Break the rules, number 5.
Burping.
Burp on camera.
4 things
Number 6,
rather than 3. It's been a very difficult 45 minutes, Joe. Okay, so I love that. So the be honest with yourself, kind of dare to look in the dark places, in order to, that's where your truth and your choices will come from. Connect, be around good people, avoid dicks. And the last one was?
Well, there were 3 at the end. Habits.
So we've got dismantling old habits, building new ones.
Yeah.
And be patient.
Be remarkably patient with yourself in building those habits. Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel like I've learned something. Sometimes I only understand what I think when I say it out loud, so it's really helpful.
I think that's often the case, though, isn't it? We kind of just, when we have to put it out there for others to understand, it helps us understand it a different way ourselves.
Oh, that's wise words. I should take some of that away.
We are our own best teachers.
Oh my gosh.
When we dare to look.
I should write about this tomorrow.
Yeah, write about it. Bless you. Give me 5.
Thank you
very
so
much. You're a star. Thank you for watching. And most importantly, with all of these things, it's great to kind of watch and scratch our heads and go, brilliant, I like that. And you have to take action. So whatever the piece is for you, whatever's resonated most, take that piece, and as soon as you press the stop button, work out how you apply it and work out the action that comes as a result of it.
Write it in the comments below.
Thank you for joining us. A big thank you to you again, as always. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.